On today's video, Old Crow is finally starting to look like a truck again, and we get to hit the switch and see if it's going to run. What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Hardcore Fab Shop. On today's video, we're going to be back to work on Old Crow again finally. It's been a minute since I've had a time to be able to work on it. Fortunately, I got to do some work every now and again to actually pay some bills. But today's video, I'm hoping we're going to have that thing making some noise. And I'm going to catch you up on a couple of things that have been happening around here. And I'm just going to show you this other little project that I've just been working on for the last week or so. Alright, so a little bit of stuff that I did get a chance to get done is we had our ICT bullet bracket and it did not fit since our motor is a tall deck, so I went ahead and made a new one, kind of mimicked it, make it look the same. So alternator is now mounted, and I went ahead and picked up an intake. Buddy might have this one. It's not quite as tall as our tunnel ram, of course, but we do have a spacer there that'll go on there, so I think that's going to get us really close to our hood, and hopefully we'll still be able to use our breather and everything. We'll see how it plays out, though, once we get the cab and everything back on there. But this is what I've actually been working on pretty much this whole last week and weekend before. A whole bunch of metal right there. That is 10 sheets of 4x8 metal that had to get all cut up, welded together, and then boxed to make a sign. I'll go ahead and show you what it looks like when it's all together. Yeah, this thing is as big as it looks in those pictures. This thing is huge, and it was a ton of work, but I'm really happy that I got to work on it because it's for some good friends of mine, and we also are using part of the sign that was on this building originally now for many years, so we're kind of helping retain some of the legacy of some of our downtown, along with adding something that'll go along with it. So that was a really cool project to be part of. But it did take up a ton of my time, so we really need to get back to working on Crow now, so let's just jump into it. Alright, so quick little tip for you guys. Anybody that's ever changed anything and modified it from original when it comes to anything to do with the water system has always ran into these problems where, like for instance here, this originally had a water hose that would come from here and go straight over to the intake. Well, first of all, we've got a tall deck, which that actually would probably still work, but it makes it a little bit harder. But then we put this air gap intake on here, so now this angle from here to there is not going to work with just a straight piece of hose. So, a little tip that I got for you guys to help you figure out a way to make that work is to just grab you a piece of wire, start bending it. If you've got it bent to where it kind of matches up with everything, then you can take it and go to the parts house and try to find you the right piece of hose. They've got a ton of stuff on the shelves back there in the back somewhere, so you might have to talk them into letting you go in the back and start looking and searching for things. And if they're a good parts store, they'll do that for you, so it's not that big of a deal. And it might end up being a hose or something that comes off of like a Honda Civic or something. But basically, you take this, and then now you kind of have a center line of where your water line needs to be, or your water hose needs to be, and go to the parts store. After you get back from the parts store with your little wire, you end up with something that probably looks along this lines, or who knows what it's got on there. But the important part is we can see that if we line our wire up on there, we can make that work to go in between our two pieces there that we need to connect. So we just got to chop her down a little bit and we'll be good to go. are almost there. This thing is all but to the point where we can actually try to start this thing. It looked really smooth in my little clip there, but that was mostly editing, I have to tell you, because this thing fought me every bit of the way. Every little tiny piece, every bolt, I had to go find all of it, and I'm not even going to tell you how long it took me, but we are finally there. Now, before we can fire this thing up, my buddy Charles actually just ran down to get a piece of hose, because even putting training fluid in this thing has been fighting me. I put that dipstick on there, and now I don't have a funnel that will actually go in that little dipstick thing that I bought, so that's probably going to have to change on that as well later on down the line. But for today, we got to get some training fluid in there so that we can fire this thing up, because the torque converter is hooked up. Now, while we're waiting, I do want to point out, though, those valve covers. Look at those things. Those things are looking sick. Go over here, you guys can see them a little bit better. Those are the same valve covers that I bought like way back when in one of the first videos, and they didn't look too bad in the pictures and in the video that I had posted and everything, but they were pretty roached. They had a clear coat on them that was coming off, and they also had a lot of just imperfections and things like that in them. So my buddy Jeff over at A&J Repair and Refinishing, he polished those things up and painted in the fins and all that stuff. They look pretty awesome. So I'm going to give a special shout out to him and thank you for doing that, because now that looks awesome. Another thing I want to point out here real quick is we also did not have a spacer on the carburetor, because that also fought me and did not work. So I'm going to have to probably get one of those still so that I can make something work with the air cleaner sticking up through the hood. Let's see. Let me go ahead and flip the camera around here, and I'll kind of show you guys what I've got all rigged up here. And then here in just a second, when Charles gets back, we'll get some training fluid in this thing and we'll see what happens. Well, as you can see, it is looking like a complete truck, and we're really close to it being a complete truck. Got the hood back on, got the body back on, got the headers back on, got everything is all pretty much there. I have only got, though, see this plug there on the fan? I've got that running out here to my little jump cart, and I'll be able to turn that on when we get up to temp. So that's not wired in yet on a permanent setup, and then also our permanent setup for the distributor wire is obviously just dangling there, so we're gonna have to do something with that. I do have some gauges kind of just strung in here, just some makeshift cheap gauges. They're just hanging out the window, so I'll be able to monitor some of the temperature and the oil pressure when we get this thing started up. On the other side, let's see, go around here, show you. Got catch can, big enough to catch whatever shoots out of it. Here's this mount, or this deal here. This is like a cheapo, like eBay type deal. That's probably Charles back with our hose. Yep. And so our wire here running out the door and down and around and everything is going to the battery. That is actually going to be what we're going to use for starting it. And we've got just a little toggle switch on that to start it with, so we'll do that. Now that he's back, we'll get some training fluid in here, and then we'll see what happens. Should work. Put a freaking hose clamp on there if we've got to. Riveting YouTube video right here.
How many people does it take to put transmission fluid in a transmission?
How many dipshits does it take to put transmission fluid in a Chevy? That's probably enough.
Yep. All right.
Well, let's see what happens.
Yep. Either she's fire or she's 180 off. Let's see. All right.
It's all you.
Fire in the hole. All right. That's what I want. We're there.
We're there.
No pressure yet. Come on, girl.
No fuel yet.
All right. She's just a little off.
Drink it again. I want to see if we got oil pressure. I don't have any oil pressure.
Okay.
So, no oil pressure. We're going to have to adjust that distributor a little bit more or something.
Okay. Where do you have the oil pressure gauge coming out? Have you seen the oil shooting up?
Coming around the side of the block.
Okay. Did you get oil? When you primed it, did you get oil up here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're probably good then. It's just probably not hitting that gauge yet.
But I didn't have that distributor.
Distributor is not going to matter. All that is your gear. As long as it's
No, it does matter because that's how the oil gets from over there to that side, and that's when it starts to create pressure.
Okay. I think the distributor is pretty
I don't know.
close.
We might have to adjust that color a little bit more, maybe.
I sat it right down in there where you said it, and then pulled. That's why I marked it when I pulled it out.
But it was loose, so maybe it wiggled down or something too far, or whatever. I don't know. Before you fucked with it.
Okay. How far is it supposed to be down? Did you measure?
Oh yeah, I measured it the other day, but I don't remember what that number is now, so I will have to go back and remeasure everything.
Well.
All right, I've readjusted the distributor. Hopefully now we've got some oil pressure to the other side. We got power going there and fire in the hole. We got oil pressure now. Wasn't that loud? Still probably sucking fuel up from the back. Go for it.
Hair more. All right. You got a vacuum line?
Actually, I know I have vacuum leaks. I didn't hook anything up, so we got to do that first. That's probably part of the reason.
Disconnect your power. Don't have that.
It's probably part of the reason that's not wanting to run good.
All right. Hell yeah. At first I thought it was 180 off when it blew that gasket off. So we're 180 off. Nope.
I was telling you, I got it right.
Yeah.
Um,
She sounds mean.
how many vacuum ports do I got to cover?
Looks like there's 1, 2.
I got 3, but they're probably all the wrong size.
There's 1 in the back already, so just 1, 2, just 2. And 1, we're gonna go from here to here. If I don't use this one, I'll go from this one to this one. If you got a vacuum on there. Here, Anthony, this will work. That slid on there. You cut a piece off and put it on there. Oh, I got cutters over here. This will work. Let me see. Worked.
Okay.
There's our vacuums. I don't see any using this. Oh, there isn't one on that side. There's one on that side. And this here is for your choke. Like if you have an electronic choke.
Yeah.
That's all that is. Alright. Fire in the hole.
Oh yeah. We got no power. Alright, you're hot. Well, guys, we are close. I actually got to hear it fire, so that's pretty cool. If you guys were paying attention, though, if you watched on the passenger side as it was cranking and firing off, we were getting a little bit of smoke on the passenger side there, puffing out. And I think what that is actually an intake gasket leaking. With the tall deck, having the spacers and all that kind of stuff, I probably screwed up by not taking the spacers back off the bottom there and resealing those when I pulled the intake off. So apparently something got loose there, and now it's draining down into a cylinder. I've been dealing with antifreeze problems already on this thing. There was a soft plug that somebody put in at some time when they put the motor together and used something sharp and put a little pinhole in there. So I've already got antifreeze all over everything. That's not that big of a deal, but the fact that it's going inside the motor probably should stop right there and not do too much more as far as trying to fire it. So that's kind of where I'm going to end up at today. I think I also have some issues with my carburetor, probably needing a little bit of tuning going on there. And I also don't have any fuel getting up there to it, so got to figure that out as well. So a bunch of little more nitnoid stuff of, you know, just figuring things out, which what you got to do, no big deal. So I'm not gonna waste you guys' time with any of that though, because it's probably not all that great a video just to watch me try to figure out all that kind of stuff. So I guess with this, but before I go, I want to actually say thanks again to Performance Distributors for the DUI distributor and the alternator, and of course those badass wires. I love those wires. I mean, those wires are sick. So I've had their distributors before, and actually we have one currently right now on my wife's Model A, so those are great. I love them too, but the wires are sick. I haven't actually had a set that's that nice, so that's pretty cool. Anyways, I want to say thank you guys again for that, and we will be seeing this stuff firing and running and charging and all that stuff hopefully here real quick, like after I get all this stuff figured out. But I think that's about all I got for you guys in today's video, so I'll see you next time.